Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you've been following me for a while, you know this channel started out as the Dad Budget Prepper channel. Occasionally we do still dive into the topics of disaster preparedness and just general prepping. When it comes to things like a prepper's pantry, one of the things that's a little bit elusive for a lot of folks is the idea of canned meats. Sure, you've got canned beans, you've got dry rice, you've got all of these other things, but when it comes down to having shelf-stable protein items like meats, that's a much harder topic to cover. On March 21st of this year, we celebrate World Home Economics Day, and the folks at Keystone Meats reached out to me and wanted me to show you some of their products. Keystone offers a variety of canned meat that not only simplify your cooking, but they also have a long shelf life. And this ensures that even in a disaster, you can prepare good foods for your family. So let me show you what the folks sent me to try out, and then we're going to dive into a couple of recipes that will be very simple and will involve things that you probably have in your pantry or you can easily acquire them. First off, let's talk about these meats. So Keystone sent me 1 can of each of their products, those being pork, turkey, chicken, beef, and ground beef. And what they hoped I would do is to put together a simple recipe to demonstrate not only the ease of use when it comes to this product, but to determine if it's going to be something that I can feed my family without them turning their nose up at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of things for dinner tonight, and then I'm going to make something that I can set aside to have for dinner tomorrow night. And I'm not going to tell my family that I'm using these canned meats to make them. The idea being, we've got to see if they pick up on it or if they have any complaints at all about the taste of the food. The dish that I'm going to make for dinner tomorrow night requires just a little bit of prep time, but it's nothing major. This is a very, very simple dish. It just has a couple of steps involved in it. The dish that I'm going to make for tonight, it's pretty simple. And I'm using as many shelf-stable pantry items as I can to make these. Let's dive into this dish that I'm going to make for tomorrow. For that, I'm going to use this turkey. One of my family's all-time favorite Thanksgiving leftover treats is turkey enchiladas. But let's face it, when it's not turkey season, it's kind of a pain to go find a turkey and roast it so that you can have the leftovers to make some other dishes with. Here we have a can of turkey that's ready to go. So let me show you what all you're going to need to make my turkey enchiladas. All we're going to need is our canned turkey. We're going to use 2 cans of cream of chicken soup because I'm making a rather large batch. We got a jar of paste picante sauce. You can use any salsa that you like. I've got a pack of fresh tortillas that I bought today at my local Hispanic market. This, of course, you can do with any kind of tortillas, and a lot of times you can get shelf-stable corn tortillas. You want to use corn as opposed to flour because flour tortillas are going to fall apart if you use those. Then you can use whatever kind of cheese you like. I've got some Mexican 3-cheese blend and some mild cheddar, so you can just pick whichever kind you like, just depending on your personal taste. All right, let's get to whipping this thing up so I can show you exactly what we're going to do. First up, we're going to add our cans of condensed cream of chicken soup. You can also use cream of mushroom. It's just a matter of preference. We're going to add about 1.5 cans of water. We don't want it to be too thinned out, but we also don't want it to be too concentrated. We're going to mix that up just enough to blend in that water and soup. And then let's turn on the fire. Then we want to add in about half of this can of salsa here, just to see how it's going to shape up. We might add more later. It looks like that's going to be just right. And we really just want to get this heated up enough that all of the ingredients blend nicely together and get just warm enough to have a good texture to it. While that's cooking, I'm going to open up this can of turkey. Okay, so let's look inside here and see what we've got with this Keystone canned turkey. There's a lot of liquid. I'm going to dump that off real quick so we can get a better look at the turkey. Now, I probably should have opened this up before I added all my stuff in there, because had I known it had that much broth in there, I would have used that instead of water to mix in with the soup. So here's what we've got. This is some pretty decent looking meat. It smells like turkey. It does not have an off-putting smell to it. There's just the smallest bit of the canned processing smell, but it's definitely more pleasant than most canned meats that I've tried. But it absolutely smells like roasted turkey. Let's get a bite of that and see how that is. Now, it's cold, it's fresh out of the can. My expectations are low, but let's try it and see what we've got here. That's decent turkey. It's not heavily seasoned. They haven't dumped a bunch of stuff on it to give it any particular flavor. Now, a lot of times with roast turkey, you expect there to be seasonings in there so that it tastes like Thanksgiving. That's not what they've done here. This is a very natural flavor with nothing on top of it. There's no sauce on it. There's no extra seasoning. It's just roasted turkey. Our soup and salsa mix is getting up to temperature. So now I'm going to dump this turkey in there and get everything incorporated together. Look how easily that turkey just kind of breaks up, falls apart, and goes in there. I mean, it's in big chunks in the can, but it just breaks up so easily. That's a whole lot of meat. That's why I decided to go with the 2 cans of soup to make a bigger batch, because that can's got a lot in it. And I figured, let's just go ahead and put it all in there. Let's get that all mixed together. And that's what we've got. That's our enchilada sauce right there. All right, let's turn this off and set that aside. So I've set our turkey mix aside, and now it's time to prepare our tortillas. I picked these up at this little Latin market up the street from the house, and these are absolutely amazing homemade tortillas. They do these every day, and they sit in a cooler by the front register, and the cooler keeps them nice and warm. So when you pick these things up, the aroma coming off of them is amazing, and they rarely make it out of the parking lot without us tearing into that and getting some out. So anything we make with these tortillas is going to be better than with anything else. But we need to prepare these to get them in that dish. What I need to do here is just get me a stack of them, and then I'm going to quarter them, just like I'm making chips. Let's do a little bit more, just to make sure we're going to have enough. The great thing about this is if you make too many, you can always just throw them in the oven, toast them up, or if you like them fried, throw them in a pan and put the rest of those away. That's all there is to it. Now we just need to put it together. First thing we're going to do is put down just a little bit of this sauce in the bottom of our pan, just as a foundation. Then we're going to start adding our tortillas. You can overlap them as much as you want. Once again, this is just a matter of personal taste. Once we've got our first layer down, throw on some of the sauce. Spread that out, make sure everybody gets some, then put another layer of tortillas. We're going to add some more of the sauce. Then we're going to throw on some of our cheese. More tortillas. Another layer of sauce. One more layer of tortillas. And then one last layer of sauce. And then our yellow cheese. It's as simple as that. I'm going to go throw this in the oven, and then we'll get on with showing you what's for dinner tonight. All right, for tonight's dinner, we're also going to use some of the same ingredients. We're going to use those tortillas, and I'm going to use the Keystone canned pork. I'm going to make tacos al pastor, or at least my version of it. I don't have everything I need, to make a marinade and all that. I'm working with canned pork. We're going to do something that's going to get us as close to al pastor as we can with this. Let's open this up and see what we've got inside and see how this canned pork is going to work out. As you would expect with the canned pork, there's a little bit of fat on top, but as they say, fat is flavor. That's interesting. It's very solid in there. It's also very pale. I mean, obviously you can tell this is unseasoned. There's nothing to it, but let's give this a try. For unseasoned canned pork, not bad. It's a little salty, so what that tells me is I don't need to add salt into this. I just need to add my other seasoning. Let's get this out and start working on dinner. Get this out. I'm going to save the juice for cooking this, just so we don't have to add any water or anything else in there. I'm just going to use that broth. Let's break that up a little bit. There we go. We're going to use all that fat, all that broth, and just use it to build on that flavor. Let's fire this thing up. For our seasoning, I'm going to add a little bit of cayenne. Yep, that was a lot of cayenne. A little bit of oregano. Some garlic. Plenty of garlic. Red chili pepper flakes. You want just a little bit of heat with this. And some cumin. Not a lot of cumin left in here, so I'm just going to go all in. But then the thing that really is going to give it its flavor is some pineapple. We're going to use some of the juice, and then we'll save the rest. Let's pour in a little bit of that. We definitely want that citrus flavor that the pineapple juice is going to bring. And then we're going to add pineapple. Let's mix this up so that all the flavors get to know each other. Let's just let that cook. So our pork al pastor is ready. I tasted it and needed to add just a little bit of black pepper and salt to round out the flavor, but I think I've gotten it just right. Let's make up a taco and see how this looks. Got tortilla. Get some of this al pastor. And look at that. That's a beautiful thing right there. Let's throw on a little bit of this Mexican 3-cheese blend. And you can dress this up however you want it. Throw some avocado on there if that's your thing, some tomatoes, add a little salsa, like I'm about to do. Let's give that a try. Easy al pastor tacos made with Keystone canned pork. Here we go. Bon appetit. Y'all, I've got zero complaints about that. That's delicious. That's hard to beat, but check this out. There is our turkey enchilada casserole, ready to go for tomorrow night. Now you could do a couple of different things with that recipe. You could make it up and then put it in the fridge or the freezer and then bake it the next day, or you can bake it tonight, put it in the fridge or the freezer, and then use it whenever you need it. Either way, the leftovers when we make this are just as good as the night we make it. Come back tomorrow, we're gonna have a bite of that, see how it turned out. We'll see you then. All right, welcome back to the studio. The al pastor tacos were a huge hit. The wife, surprisingly enough, loved them. I accidentally put a little more cayenne than I intended to, and she found them to be a little spicy, but she still snarfed them. No questions about where the meat come from or anything like that. She just enjoyed the tacos. So now it's time to try our turkey enchilada casserole. I threw it in the oven for a little while just to get it back up to temperature, but look how gorgeous that is. All right, let's give that a taste. All right. Here we go. That is every bit the flavor that I grew up on. That recipe that Mom would make the day after Thanksgiving without fail every year. It became something that my brother started making. It became something that I started making for my family. That right there is a Thanksgiving tradition. And now we don't have to wait for Thanksgiving anymore. Well, there it is. You can get cans of shelf-stable meat that you can use to easily make any recipe happen and get zero complaints from your family about the taste of that meat. I'm curious to try some of these others, especially the ground beef. This one looks like it's going to be an interesting thing to try out. If you guys like this video enough and you want to see it, I might try to come up with a recipe for one of these other canned meats, whether it's the ground beef, the shredded beef, or the chicken. So just leave me a comment down below and tell me which one you'd like to see, and if you've got a cool idea for a recipe that I can try with it. And even if you're not a prepper or you don't consider yourself a prepper, these things are great to have on hand. You never know when you're going to want to cook something and you just don't have the time to defrost meat, cook it, and get it to exactly what you need before you can even start working on the recipe. Get you some of this to keep on hand for whatever you need it for. Let's hope it's never an emergency, but if it is, you'll have it on hand. But there you have it. Those are my 2 recipes. If you like this content, be sure and like the video. Also subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can be made aware of all upcoming videos, and feed the algorithm. Leave me a comment. Give me your favorite recipes to try with these. Let me know if you've tried any of the products and what you think of them. That's going to be a wrap for this one. And until the next one, prepare for the world that you live in, not the one you wish existed. Go live deliciously. We'll see you next time.